The idea of having the cloud caching appliance, you get the scalability advantages of the cloud, right? So we have that unlimited scalability, and then the data protection advantages of NAS. So the idea is that built into that cloud caching appliance can be software that manages. Earlier when I talked about the idea that you've got unlimited versioning with cloud because of the way object storage works, you just need something to track all of those versions, and you can get that with a cloud caching appliance where they can have unlimited versions of files, but the older versions of the files reside only up in the cloud, right? And you've got versioning to meet the backup needs. You know, we've got data in multiple locations. We've got data being protected by the data protection advantages of the cloud. But then you've also got this idea of versioning so that I can, if I do something stupid, I can go back to a previous version of a file. And of course, you've got the performance advantages of NAS. And the idea is that the capacity, so when we talked about NAS, the big thing I talked about was this idea of having to manage the capacity. With these cloud caching appliances, the idea is that the capacity is auto-managed. You buy an appliance or a VM that is sized to meet your active data set, and that size could be managed. But the idea is that when you run out of capacity in that local cache, data is always available in the cloud, and basically the data is managed between those two, and you don't have to manage that capacity. And then the other important thing is a predictable monthly recurring cost, because if you're not having to manage that appliance and you're not having to manage all of the things that we talked about before, the monthly cost is going to be very straightforward with basically the bill from the cloud company. And then this idea that one of the things that, Fred, that you brought up earlier, this idea of infrequently accessed data, it means that you don't have to worry about managing that data. It's automatically, all the data is automatically going to be in the cloud, and then if it's not getting used, it simply will be moved out of that local cache, and you'll make room for the data that's actually being used.
In our case, you know, the predictable monthly cost, you pay by what your data is, and that's it. You don't have to worry about versions and backup costs. And since it's an operational expense based on your capacity, you're not even paying for the VMs. And you know, you're basically, if you go with hardware, you just have to pay for the cost level of the hardware. So it really makes for a much easier model. And this exercise that we have to go through every 3 years of trying to predict how much we're going to need in the next 3 years of migration, that whole thing just goes away.